Hello, welcome to Run It Back, the show where we try to get things right the second time. In today's episode, we've got a submission here from Peas of Crab from the AGL server, doing a traditional draft, 2-1 on this one. So let's see if we can find something in the draft that might have gotten us into that 3-0 bracket. We'll dive into it now. As we take a look at Pack 1, Pick 1, we see a couple of rares in both Cruel Claw's Heist and Wick the World Mind. Both these are fine, good cards. I'm not really taking either of them particularly highly, mainly just because Rats isn't as strong as I'd like to be. But if you are in Rats, this is the card that you want, right? As you continue to make other Rats, notably the +1/+1 counter on Snails does work with the Changelings. So if you want to continue to generate Snails, you want to make sure that you don't have a Changeling in the battlefield when a Rat comes into play. But the Changeling works because they are Rats, so they come and they get a 1/1 counter themselves, or you can sacrifice them to the second ability there. Gossip's Talent is fine, but late. Like, we want to draft that later. Into the Floodmaw, also the same. Rabid Gnaw is the pick here, and I think that's perfectly fine. This is a reasonable removal spell, about the best thing you want in both Mice and Raccoons. They play really well. Even in something like Lizards, this plays particularly strongly. Baker's Bane Duo, Longstock Brawl, both of those are very, very good. So I think you're either looking at the green cards, the red card, or potentially either of the rares here. Taking a Rabid Gnaw is perfectly fine. The trouble I have with this one precisely is you're not really wheeling anything if you are in red, so we're gonna have to pick up another color and see what we wheel here. Pack 1, Pick 2, we see a Caretaker's Talent, a Feed the Cycle, a Playful Shove, and we end up taking the Feed the Cycle. And it's really interesting because I think Playful Shove is also very good, especially with all of the Offspring and other things going on. It also plays well in like Lizards, just dealing 1 damage to your opponent. Feed the Cycle obviously is a very, very good card, but that kind of is now 2 separate colors, whereas like Playful Shove obviously sticking in red leaves you open a little bit more, and I think the difference between these 2 cards is not that big of a deal. The one thing I want to call out though is Caretaker's Talent. This card is absurd, especially early, whenever 1 or more tokens you control draw a card. If you have 2 or 3 Carrot Cakes, and then you also have all the Offspring tokens that green and white make, I think that this card is pretty incredible. I think it's very, very good. Food tokens, Baker's Bane Duo, that kind of stuff counts. I think that this is likely the card I would have picked here, mainly just because these removal spells are fine, but this is a build around, and it is very good. Pack 1, Pick 3, we see a Long River Lurker with 2 removal spells. The Long River Lurker is a good card, but this is one of those cards that I really want to end up having something for right away. Taking a look at the rest of the pack, Into the Floodmaw's fine, but not as good as Long River Lurker. The Tempest Angler I actually am coming up on a little bit more, but again, still probably not good as the Lurker. Heaped Harvest is fine as well. Man, yeah, just a couple of these things not really where you want to be at. So interestingly enough, had we taken the Playful Shove and we're just solidly in red, there's really nothing here for us. If we take the Caretaker's Talent, really, again, nothing here for us. So this pack is just sort of a wash, I suppose. If you really want to, try to start solidifying into red-black, this Ravine Raider, I think, is something I've been more and more high on. But in theory, this should be coming around later. Frilled Spark Shooter, same thing. Like, both of those cards are fine, but they're coming around later. This pack is just kind of weak, so taking the Long River Lurker is fine, but I certainly would not count myself in blue quite yet. Pack 1, Pick 4, Carrot Cake. Yeah, Carrot Cake is very good here, but man, this is 4 picks in 4 colors. This is a bit of a mess right away. So taking a look at our first 4 picks again, just from the beginning, if we end up taking like this Wick the World Mind, that puts us in black, which therefore allows us to go into Feed the Cycle, maybe into this Ravine Raider, probably still the Lurker, I suppose, but then you end up getting like Fireglass Mentor. If we stick in the reds, we go Rabid Gnaw, which is great, Playful Shove, which is great, and then you can either take the Frilled Sharpshooter or the Ravine Raider again, kind of saying that we want to be in Lizards, and then we get rewarded with this Fireglass Mentor. If we want to be in red-white, we've got this Rabid Gnaw, like we think about, the Caretaker's Talent, which is incredible. Then you end up probably in Crumb and Get It, because it's a good Valiant target. And then we end up with this Valley Rally, the Teapot Slinger, or the Carrot Cake. Notably, if we end up in the Caretaker's Talent, the Carrot Cake is probably the pretty incredible thing. So far, I think the thing that we're missing right now is the Caretaker's Talent. But we didn't take that. We have these cards. So now having this information, I don't think that Carrot Cake is really that much of a signal. I don't think it's good for our draft. I think that we already have 2 good red and black cards, and I see 4 very reasonable and playable red cards here. And Teapot Slinger is fine. Valley Rally is good. Fireglass Mentor is the best one, and probably the pick I would pick. And then Steam Path Charger. There's enough here where I would be in Lizards, I think. Pack 1 pick 5, we see another Rabid Gnaw, which plays well in both red, white, and red, black, so that would be a good one. Taking a look at the rest of the pack, Jolly Gerbils suggests that red, white is still open, and Caretaker's Talent is likely where we should have ended up in pick 2. Life Creed Duo is fine, but not really in the red, white. That's more of a green, white, or blue, white card. Black, white, or blue, white card. Pawn Prophet also down here is a reasonable blue card. Pack 1 pick 6, we're back on the black cards with the Downwind Ambusher. Sinister Monolith I think plays well in bats, but we've got 2 really good lizards over here, and Steam Path Charger just being an early 2-drop or something that can trigger Expend if we have any splash raccoons. And then of course Scales of Shale is probably the most important card within your aggressive lizards deck, because you want to just constantly be attacking, swinging out, and then this one is able to trade up with another card, and it's only a singular mana. So Scales of Shale I think should be the pick here over the Downwind Ambusher, because in theory we should have this Fireglass Mentor and then also probably this Ravine Raider. This should be a Lizards draft so far. Pack 1 pick 7, we do end up taking the Steam Path Charger, but unfortunately as we take a look back, passing this one and this other one over here, if we had this Fireglass Mentor and this Steam Path Charger, I think that this could be a good pick for the Cindering Cutthroat. If you can trigger this Cindering Cutthroat often, a 3-mana 4/3 that can gain Menace is pretty huge. I think this card is actually better than the Steam Path Charger, but you need the Charger in order to kind of make things work. So had we sort of established ourselves in Lizards earlier on, we would have been rewarded here with this Cindering Cutthroat. Pack 1 pick 8, we see a Brambleguard Veteran, which is obviously very good, but we can't take it. We can't take this card. I think we can't take a double green card unless you're willing to get rid of both the white card, the blue card, and both black cards. I just think this double green is not splashable, and it states I want to be in green. On the flip side, Conduct Electricity, which is not super powerful, but it is important, definitely can be done. Also, a Junkblade Bruiser is just bigger than everything else in the format, so I would strongly consider that. And even in early winter, if you just want a removal spell, maybe a little bit different than the Conduct Electricity. Both of these are fine. This is a black answer to enchantments like Talons, so that could be a big deal. But I think I'm probably on the Junkblade Bruiser in this pack. Pack 1 pick 9, we see a Scales of Shale wheel, which is a huge sign, big deal for us. Happy to see that one. Pack 1 pick 10, a Might of the Meek. I think Might of the Meek is a red-white card, and I think that ship has sailed at this point. I do want a Frilled Sparkshooter. 4-mana Menace Reach for a 4/4 is very reasonable, and it's almost always triggered in Lizards, so I'd want this Frilled Sparkshooter. We see a Ravine Raider on the wheel, which is great. I think I probably would have preferred that. Maybe see if we can end up getting the Sparkshooter or the Tempest Angler on the wheel, because maybe some of these other cards would have gone through. Pack 1 pick 12. Yeah, Mind Drill Salient is fine. I don't know if we're playing this or not, but maybe. And then we get a Sassacap's Brew on the last pick. Pack 2 pick 1, we see a Bandit's Talent, we see a Moonstone Harbinger, which is great. I see a Kindlespark Duo, which is fine. I don't think we're in Glarb territory. There's definitely a place where Glarb could work, but Uncharted Haven is fine, but at this point, this tells me that you're probably considering either these green cards, this blue card, the white card. Get out of here. Let's not do that. Just take this Bandit's Talent. This card is incredible. So one of the reasons why this card is great is because in this format, it's very common for players to end up getting down to 0 cards, 1 card, 2 cards, or whatever, and then needing some sort of card advantage to keep the game going. Otherwise, you're just in top deck wars. If you get into a top deck war, this is great. This is perfect. It not only helps get you there, but it's always going to be a 1-for-1 with a non-creature spell. Imagine if this just said, destroy target creature, or duress, or whatever, something like that. That's very good. Every now and again, you're going to get 2 lands, but even better, that helps get towards the third one. What I really like about this talent is it's only 3 mana to get to level 2 by playing it and then activating it. I think this talent is absolutely the perfect choice. Plus, it automatically helps out with all of your lizards. It just, in general, is great. This is the game plan we want to be on. Bandit's Talent. Pack 2, pick 2. I see a Hazel's Nocturne, a Marshstalker, Saver is incredible, Tidecaller Mentor, Rush Shield Rampager is fine, but nothing to really scoff at. We should not be dipping our toes into green here. This is a red-black draft all the way. Now, if you want to tell me that you want Saver to take care of some early threats, that's fine. If you want Hazel's Nocturne to go a little bit later, that's fine. I think you could get behind Persistent Marshstalker just because it's a good aggressive card, but I think that's below the other 2 here. This ends up helping you go late. But in theory, if we have this Bandit's Talent continuing on with card advantage, I think Saver would be the exact card that I'm looking for here. Pack 2, pick 3, a Thoughtstalker Warlock is exactly the card that we want. It's the best reason to be in Lizards, so let's take every single one we get. Pack 2, pick 4, I see a Glide Dive Duo, which is fantastic. And we're still on Brambleguard Veteran, maybe still in this green. Yeah, I don't think green is where we're at. brother. Like this is not it. Glide Dive Duo is the exact card you want on the top of the thing. What it does is it triggers all of your lizards. It's a 3/3 flyer for 5, which is still great in the format. Yeah, definitely the card I want in this pack is Glide Dive Duo. Pack 2, pick 5. We have a Junkblade Bruiser, or we've got these 2 great black cards over here. Junkblade Bruiser, I would definitely consider, at pick 9, 10, 11, but Savor is one of the best commons in the entire set. And so we still have a bunch of great black cards that we want to be playing down here and Feed the Cycle, Thoughtstalker Warlock, Ravine Raider. These are all great. Savor, just a fantastic way to answer a lot of cards in the format. Pack 2, pick 6. We see a Whiskersquill Scribe. We see Alania's Pathmaker, Playful Shove, and Ravine Raider. There's a lot of really good ones in here, and I think there's some good stuff. In theory, we should already have like one Playful Shove from way back in the day, maybe over, I think, this Long River Lurker. But this, I think, is probably an Alania's Pathmaker. One of the troubles with this format, like I mentioned when we were talking about Bandit's talent, is that, both players end up getting to this top deck mode. And so when you end up having Alania's Pathmaker, that just gives you that general card advantage on top of the fact that it also expends. If we ever have like a 2-drop or a 3-drop that cares about expending, then this one like triggers all your expend triggers and then gives you something on the next turn. 4/2 also plays very well in the format. I've been very happy with this card. I would have picked this Otter here. Pack 2, pick 7. Wolverine's a very good card, but I think, unfortunately, based on how my brain this draft is going, the green ship should have sailed, and we should be straightly in red-black. Kindlespark Duo is probably not the best card that I want. I think I would probably pick the Psychic Whirl here. Both of these cards are the cards I think are the best for our draft seat, but I think the Psychic Whirl plays well because, in theory, again, in my brain, Bandit's talent is here. Now, without the Bandit's talent, yeah, High Spine Wolverine is significantly better than Kindlespark Duo, but I just don't think we want to be double splashing all these green cards here. Pack 1, pick 8, we see a Cash Grab, which is fine, but really if you're not getting a food out of this, it's just Grizzly Salvage. And I don't think that Grizzly Salvage is good in this format. You need to be able to forage twice off of this thing or have it gain you 3 life, and just realistically in this deck, it's not happening. So Cash Grab, very good when you have a small amount of squirrels or more, but here it's not where it's at. I probably would take this Frilled Spark Shooter. Pack 2, pick 9. The Bandit's talent is still here. We still passed it. Oh, no. Oh, no. Bandit's talent. We still passed it. Ugh. This is a real shame. This gifted card's great. So sad we missed it. Pack 2, pick 10, Spellgyre. Persistent Marshalker is a 2-mana 3/1. I'm playing this all the time. All the time playing this. And if we ever happen to get some sort of extra rat out here, like a Mind Drill Assailant, it maybe comes back. 2-mana 3/1 is exactly what I want in my aggro deck. Heaped Harvest, I guess if we're still in this green sort of style train, this is a fine card, but, in theory, we want to be doing something different than that. Daring War Leader, great card, not really where we are. Glide Dive Duo, Pack 2, pick 13. This is a sign, brother. This is a sign. Glide Dive Duo, wow, what a wheel. Pack 3, pick 1. A lot of good blue cards here, which we're not going to be playing. Overprotect, a fantastic green card. And because we're apparently still in some sort of green pile, Overprotect is the best card for us. I probably would take maybe a Glide Dive Duo here, but this is a pretty tough pack to open up in this red-black deck that's going on in my brain. So Overprotect, perfectly fine card, but in theory we already should have 1 or 2 of like all these cards that I don't really want anymore. Pack 3, pick 2, we see a Long River Lurker. We've got the Boar and the Moose. Both of these are great cards. Both of them are huge cards that come down and smack our opponent in the face. If we're in red-black, I'd be really sad if we just open a Moose, but having this Boar here, this is also a fantastic finisher. I do think between the two, I like the Boar better, surely because it comes down a turn earlier. And actually kind of 2 turns earlier. The Quake Tusk Boar, you play your 5th land, you attack with it right away. The Moose, you play your 5th land, then you play your 6th land, then a lot of times you cast it on your opponent's turn, and then you get to finally attack with it. Hopefully you do get to like eat a creature with the Flash Reach thing, but realistically, I think Quake Boar is better for us in this deck. So happy to see the Quake Tusk Boar. Where we're at right now, the Moose is fine, but we've already got a lot of extra things at the top, so I don't know. Pack 3, pick 6, we see a Savor here, a Hazel's Nocturne. Longtusk Brawl is fine in the deck that we're at, but I really struggle to think about what colors we're playing here that we're happy to see a Longstock Brawl. Like Whiskersquill Scribe is, I think, fine, but we don't really have any other 2-drops to really be hitting this thing, and the stuff we do have are like Steam Path Charger. So Longstock Brawl is great, but in this deck, it's only like at turns 6 and 7 after you're able to cast like a 5-drop and then also Longstock Brawl. Pack 3, pick 4, we do see a Moonstone Harbinger, which probably isn't that fantastic in this deck, but the Rockface Village, very good for both the red-green deck that's going on, plus the Lizards deck that's here. Wix Patrol, another one, but like we already have a bunch of really high drops. I don't think Wix Patrol goes in either of those decks. Pack 3, pick 6, a Take Out the Trash. Tough to argue that one. Great pickup. Pack 3, pick 6. We see a Sticky Tongue Sentinel, a Daggerfang Duo, a Hoarder's Overflow. All these are pretty middling cards, and frankly, by this point, we should be kind of done. So having a whiff in a pack like this is fine. This does play well with things like the Heap Harvest, but in theory, I don't really want to be playing much of that at all. Pack 3, pick 6. Brambleguard Veteran, again, is fine, and if that works out for you, good for you, brother. But we've got Teapot Slinger over here, which is great for Lizards, and we've got this Ruthless Negotiation, which it's the Bandit talent card, right? We would have played a Psychic Whirl. This card is great because, like I said, we're top deck mode, and so if our opponent draws a removal spell and we don't have any creatures, you can end up nabbing it and drawing a card later. If they end up holding a land on it, you can end up getting, it works so well with your Bandit's talent because you're continuing to draw cards, you're going to end up triggering the Bandit's talent later. This is great. If you want to still be more of an aggressive strategy rather than the discard strategy, Scales of Shale is also great. I played 4 of these things in my Lizard deck, but getting distracted with the Brambleguard Veteran, I think you're rating this card too highly. This is not that much of a sign at 1 GG. Frankly, if we're going to be in green, I'd rather have this Baker's Bane duo because it puts out 2-drop, which actually we can fight with, and then also triggers on all of our expend cards that we have later on. Pack 3, pick 8, we do see an Alania's Pathmaker, which is great. Happy to see that one come through. But notably, if we were in Lizards, this Fireglass Mentor is still around. Conduct Electricity is fine. We're not playing any of these cards. Not playing any of those cards. More of these cards we're not playing. Taking a look at the deck, we end up in red-green with a lot of Brambleguard Veterans and the hopes that we're going to be able to get expend 4 quite often. And so therefore we're playing a couple of subpar 4-drops in this Treetop Sentries, and then even Down One Ambusher is good, but we don't really want to expend with it pre-combat because this should be flash sort of combat trick. Conduct Electricity, not too good, but the rest of these cards are perfectly fine. This Sticky Tongue Sentinel also sticks out to me because in theory we want to end up pairing this with a 1-drop permanent that allows us to expend for 4. Otherwise we want to end up picking up a land and maybe end up casting this in a 2-drop on the same turn. But in general, that card isn't too particularly good. Kindlespark Duo doesn't have too many things in this deck that I'm super excited about. I know we've got total 8 non-creature spells, but I don't know. I think we're just missing out on it. So unfortunately, I think in this deck, Piece of Crab took Brambleguard Veteran early as a sign, and I would not take this card nearly as heavily as a sign. There was a really sweet black discard Lizards deck that we saw, and had we jumped into it earlier, maybe there's even more cards that would have gotten passed our way. And even though you see some great cards like this Galewind Moose and the Highspine Wolverine, one of these would have ended up bending that Bandit's talent, which would have been card advantage plus damage, and the other one would have been a Quake Dust Boar. So I'm certainly not sad about missing some of these other ones. This is a really interesting draft. Thank you so much for sending in. I was really, really happy to see it. I'm glad that we ended up making 2-1 out of this. That makes me feel actually pretty good after seeing the list. If you want to have your deck reviewed on Run It Back, feel free to send me an email at runitbackmtg@gmail.com or a message in Discord with the 17 lands data. Also, if you have the data from Untapped GG, they now have a way to review and record your drafts. So feel free to send that information over as well. Happy to take a look at it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.